And call the work session to order. First order of business tonight will be item number 1, which is to discuss the agenda item. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening on your consent agenda, item 4A are the minutes for the May 1st, 2018 council regular meeting. Item 4B is a resolution authorizing an application for a grant through FEMA in cooperation with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The grant request would be for an amount of $200,000, total amount of $200,000, of which the city's share would be 25% or $50,000. And the purpose of the grant is to apply for a hazard mitigation grant for an emergency generator for the pump station at the Summit water tank. Currently that pump station does not have backup power, and under TCEQ guidelines they recommend or require alternative power to pump stations. And so Public Works and our Emergency Management Operations Coordinator have worked together to put together a grant application for that, and that would be for our pump station. The funding from that would come from the utility fund, and it would be in FY 2019. The grant application goes in this year, but the award would be for 2019. So we will program, if it's approved, we will program in that our match in the utility fund capital improvements plan for FY 19. Item 4C is a resolution authorizing purchase street milling and overlay from Peachtree Construction. This was a project as part of our pavement management system. As you know, we have done different types of street maintenance, including crack sealing, microsurfacing, and now what we're going to do is to award the contract for mill and overlay to Peachtree. They were the lowest responsible bidder. That amount is $964,600, and that funding is available in the FY18 general fund and was budgeted under our street maintenance category.
A question: how do we? They just did my street with the new process.
The microsurfacing.
Microsurfacing. It looks great. How do you determine when you use what type?
Greg, you want to?
So yes, sir. So back in 2015, when we conducted the pavement assessment, it generated PCI ratings, which in turn helped generate the recommended treatment for the roads based on their condition. And so the first level of maintenance is just having to crack seal them. Once we've done that once or twice, then we crack seal them and then we microsurface them. And then after we do that once or twice, and then it will tell us that it's time to do a mill and overlay.
Okay.
And the idea is to, and then it starts back over again with crack sealing. And the idea is to try to keep everything at mill and overlay or better, so that we don't sort of fall off the cliff and get to CIP.
Okay. Thank you.
Kevin, would you go into explain? I know the low bidder on this was rejected. Could you tell us what happened there?
So the low bidder was Fouts Paving Company, and Greg can add to it, but they're fairly new, and so they did not have any previous work experience that they could vouch for, and no references. So those are requirements of the bidding process. Greg, you want to?
That's correct. So they were a brand new company that at the time of the assessment had 0 years. They were brand new formed and had absolutely no references. So they were not even deemed technically acceptable for the purpose of the source selection.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed at all to what we did, but it's interesting that they were so low compared to the average of the other bidders. I mean, that runs a flag up, I know.
Yes, that was very, very low price with no references. Doesn't make me feel very comfortable in their ability to perform.
Yeah. There was a major price difference.
Yes. Okay.
Those are all of the items on the consent agenda. On the items for individual consideration, item 5A is a resolution awarding a bid in the amount of $324,435 to WatchGuard Video. And this is for the purchase of the mobile video systems and body-worn cameras for the police department. As you may recall, early last year, we had what we thought was an opportunity with a startup vendor to do a trial with their cameras they were going to provide to us at no cost. We came to the council, we executed a memorandum of understanding with them, and that company eventually changed hands a number of times, got way behind on their timeline. We lost confidence in their ability to perform, and so we dissolved that MOU, and the police department has looked at two companies that are well regarded in the industry, Axon and WatchGuard, and talked with departments that use both systems. They reviewed those systems and compared them and have recommended going with WatchGuard. WatchGuard is headquartered in Allen, Texas, and so one of the considerations was their ability to be able to respond in a much more timely manner on repair and service on the systems. The funding for this would come from the Traffic and Safety Improvement Fund. We would pay it out over a 6-year period at various installments as shown in the memo. It is not financed, so we're not paying any finance charges on it. It is just a phased payment approach with them. Those are all of the items on the agenda.
Okay. Adam,
I'm sorry, I did fail to mention that the first item on your agenda tonight is to canvass the election results. So that will be done with the current count.
okay, item number 1A is the US 67 landscape design presentation. Sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, Greg Raymond, the Director of Public Works. So with me tonight are Nick Nelson and Dorothy Whitmire, who are the landscape architects for this project, and they'll also be joining me up here for the presentation. I do want to just call to your attention your handout. As we progress a little bit through the presentation, you'll notice on certain slides where it references handout number 1, handout number 2, and so on. And those are the numbers that are in the bottom right-hand corner of those 11 by 17s at your place. Again, these are bigger copies so that you can better see which we're talking about. Again, just to go back, the applicable guidance regarding US 67, where the council capstone create high-quality neighborhoods and parks, as well as growing Duncanville. The goal was to maximize city and community resources. You see the work plan item, and then again, this is also tied to our comprehensive plan. Just some background. Back in January of 2017 was when we initiated our discussion with Pacheco Code and Cedar Hill regarding pursuit of the Green Ribbon Grant to correspond with the US 67 widening project that is currently underway. In June 2017 is when our FY18 Green Ribbon Grant application was submitted, and with that we were awarded $486,000 towards the landscaping at the Wintergreen Gateway, which is what we share with Cedar Hill. Moving forward into February, Council approved the design contract of $152,000 and authorized the staff to pursue the Green Ribbon Grant in FY19. In March, Pacheco Code presented to staff their 30% designs. April 25th was the 60% designs presented for staff input, which brings us to tonight, where they'll present the 60% designs to y'all for your input. There's a little bit change from TxDOT this year as put out on their 7 May information session. The key takeaways was that the city in FY19 the allocations are limited to $750,000 per city, and when we get to the follow-on slide, I'll show you how that sort of breaks out for us. Again, they reiterated the completed designs and the city funding, which in our case is having programmed amounts available for the corresponding hardscape elements, is what it takes to have a competitive grant application. And that was what we talked about before and why Pacheco and Koch is here tonight. They also gave us some revised guidance regarding the preparation of the cost estimates. So they told us to pull out the mobilization cost, the contingency, traffic control, and again, we're working with Pacheco to adjust the phasing and then adjusting the construction cost estimates accordingly when we go to for our applications. And then they also said that the design firms will be the ones that are responsible for submitting grants on behalf of their customers. Again, just to reiterate for the group, especially for the new folks, we identified 4 locations for these landscape / hardscape improvements, these 4 gateways. So Cockrell Hill Gateway in the north and the Wintergreen Gateway in the south are what we're calling our major gateways. But we also identified 2 areas of concentration, one at Daniel-Dale and one at Main Street, where they'll get sort of lesser enhancement, but at the same time present some continuity as they travel through our corridor, and then a highlight. As you'll notice down at the bottom, Wintergreen, where it's the green circle, that's the one that it's already funded. We received we already have the $486,000 allocated to us from FY18, and currently in the FY19 CIP program we budgeted $100,000 for hardscape elements at that gateway. Moving up to the north at the Cockrell Hill Gateway, you'll notice that we split it into 2 phases of landscaping. Originally we had, our budget was about $1.3 million in landscaping at Cockrell Hill, which based on the $750,000 cap caused us to basically break it into 2 phases. So, and when you incorporate some of those deducts that they dictated to us, what we're looking at is $750,000 for phase 1, and when your handouts will illustrate that further. In phase 1, and then in phase 2 would be to complete the landscaping at Cockrell Hill and then extend down into our 2 areas of concentration. The hardscape elements up at the North Gateway at Cockrell Hill was also programmed for $100,000 in our FY19 CIP plan. And also you'll notice the hardscape elements at the 2 areas of concentration are to be determined. We did propose to the bond committee some additional funds to help with these gateways.
Is the reason why it's so high is because you're running water out there?
Yes, a majority of it is all the irrigation associated with those jobs. And the irrigation is required by TxDOT. Subject to any questions about any funding, right now I'll turn it over to Nick and he'll walk you through the design. Yes, sir.
What, they took mobilization and some of the other costs out of what we can apply for in the grant.
Correct.
So we pay that.
Well, they're saying that would be absorbed by them already. They know that they're going to do that no matter what. So they said we don't need.
That cost just disappears?
TxDOT pays for that cost.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's a bonus.
Yes. So it's really, I guess, maybe what they're probably doing is those might have been opportunities to pad it or whatever, and so now they pull out all that other stuff and just get down to the bare bones of what costs do you actually need that are particular to your project. All right, well, I'll turn it over to Nick to talk about his design.
Hello, Mayor, Council, staff. We continue to progress with your project. We're at a 60% level is what we call it with the set of plans. And the 60% is important because the TxDOT has a matrix that they score their grant applications with. And so to get maximum points in different areas, they have different requirements. And so having plan sets at 60% helps achieve the maximum points in that grading matrix or rubric that they use to award the grants. And so what you're seeing is the Cockrell Hill Gateway. This is more extensively landscaped than some of the other portions of the 67 that we'll see along the road. For obvious reasons, with it being the entrance into the city, but then also comparatively scale-wise, coming out of that interchange, you want it to be visible and you want people to know, okay, you're arriving. Yes, ma'am?
I thought last time and I like it, but the greenery in the center, I thought we weren't gonna do that because it was too expensive to run water to the center of the freeway.
We're not doing that in certain places.
Okay.
In other places where it's feasible and maintenance is feasible, we're trying to do that still.
Originally, what we were looking at was running it through the center, the length of 67, and we chose then not to do that and to instead use those two areas of concentration at Main and Duncanville instead. So I think that's what you were remembering, the very initial idea, the first ideas we thought we would for the full length.
You're welcome. And so, it's difficult to talk to plans at this scale, but basically what you're seeing are bands of native plant material. And so this ties back to the original concept of creating pollinator habitat and having the landscape do more than just be something visual. This again appeals to TxDOT and also to the grant application, but as well does something to help serve the community in a way. And so the red star you see there is the proposed monument location, and we'll talk more about the monument development at the end. But as you approach Cockrell Hill, that will be on your right side, and those bands will carry across on both sides of 67. As you continue south, Daniel Dale, we're basically framing Daniel Dale for multiple reasons. As you move through the corridor, the topography changes. So what's visible and not visible on the sides of the road changes. And the widths, and there's different restrictions and conflicts that we're trying to address and incorporate. And so if you're with me on handout 2, you can see it a little bit closer. But we still continue with the repetition of the plant material, and that helps reinforce the overall design as well as branding it as being in a unique place in your city of Duncanville. Main Street gets stretched a little bit more because of the way the road improvements are taking place. So we have limited planting access, but we're still trying to treat that important road and acknowledge that you're there. So with the off-ramps and the on-ramps, and trying to just frame that interchange in general. It works out spatially as well to be another dot that gets connected as you move through the corridor. And then we arrive at Wintergreen, which gets to be a more extensive landscape again. And here's where your southern monument would be located, in this case on the east side of 67 as you come through there. Now this is the one that would be shared with Cedar Hill to the south. And so their monument would be located on what would be the west side of the freeway at this point. And they would be responsible for the landscape on the west side of the freeway as well. And so these pictures are representative of the plants being used. They're a mix of primarily native plants and very adapted plants for the region. They are also, we saw different pollinator plants, meaning that they need to be pollinated and they flower at different times of the year. So it's not just everything happens at once and then it's dormant the rest of the year. Some of them are evergreen and some of them are perennial, and so there will be a balance in that regard as well. So there will always be something changing visually and looking nice visually as you move through the year. They're also minimal maintenance plans, so it will help the Parks Department in their efforts to maintain it and simplify those efforts. The landscape icons, this gets back to the sign and the monuments. These are some of the precedent images from around the Metroplex. The upper left hand is Arlington, Texas. That is a fairly new monument. The upper right hand would be Mansfield, Texas, and that's located on 287. Arlington's on I-30. As you move down below, Hudson Oaks is out west of Fort Worth. They have a vertical monument. It's a different look. It's very applicable to go vertical when you have limited space. As things get narrower, just like you do with a home or a skyscraper, you go up instead of out. So you can fit things in different places. To the right of that is the Grand Prairie Monument. I almost said mountain. That's probably more applicable. But down below you see Roanoke and then also Flower Mound as well. Flower Mound is an example of another vertical monument. So this is what's going on around the Metroplex. These are the three concepts that we developed as a starting point. And we're anxiously awaiting the logo that's being developed because that's a key ingredient to these monuments. And so concept A is a vertical monument. This coincides with the $100,000 that was originally discussed for the hardscape element. Going larger than that and getting nearer to some of the other precedent images that you saw is concept B, which effectively doubles that cost, and concept C, which more than triples that cost. That's based on size, and then also the electronics and the lighting are your primary cost with those different monuments. And so we use concept B in the next images as a placeholder, and also because it was kind of the middle of the road of cost-wise. But all of these, some of the key elements are text size. The Duncanville, for example, in concept B, those letters are 2 feet tall. For comparison, Duncanville on I-20 right now is about 15 inches, or how large those letters are. So there'll be larger letters, and they'll also be lit better, and then they'll be unobstructed, which is a big challenge with the current setup on I-20. And in addition, they'll be closer to the lanes of travel. So all those things will help with the visibility and the legibility of it.
Every one of these are lit?
All of them are lit. Yes, ma'am. And the idea with the logo is to light it significantly, meaning similar to the Arlington precedent. So there would be substantial light, and it's internally lit. You can also program that lighting depending on how much money wants to be allocated to that. So it can change colors or be dynamic as well. And so that's what you would see in the logo, where it says logo, at varying scales. And so concept C is primarily about the logo. The jagged lines that you see behind it tie back to the corridor as a whole with their strata theme. If you remember, the originally developed sign leaned heavy towards the strata notion. But with these concepts, we added some additional elements to help tie it into the rest of Duncanville. And these also become more scalable, so they can be used elsewhere in a smaller size. And so this is what it would look like. This is actually at the wintergreen coming north on 67. So the letters would be up above the barrier rail, and there'd be some additional hardscape elements to help reinforce it and broaden its stature. And you see some of those materials to the left with the gabion baskets and the stone blocks that would be incorporated. Now, the question we always get is, well, what is Cedar Hill doing? Now, we happen to know Cedar Hill, and this is what they're doing. And so concept B, for example, is very comparable in size and scale. This will be, cost-wise, it's comparable as well. They have some additional challenges because they're dealing with retaining walls, just because of the way the topography works through there. But that gives you the overall picture. So this will be on the north side, or the west side of that wintergreen interchange, and your monument would be on the east side to kind of complete that design there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them and do my best to, or turn the time back over to Greg. Yes?
Future planning. Daniel Dale and Cockrell Hill are bridges over 67. And the landscaping is pulled up pretty close in both of those locations. We tried real hard to get some turnarounds at both of those locations. And hopefully we'll be successful on the next round of projects on 67 to do that. That happening, what happens to the landscape? Because those bridges would be widened to be able to have the turnarounds.
That's a really good question. Look back to Daniel Dale, for example. And so those turnarounds, ultimately in this case, that landscaping would go away.
Disappear.
Yeah, it would. And so, depending on TxDOT's schedule for those turnarounds to happen after making these improvements, that could be a significant timetable. Yeah, so.
A long time.
I believe that's gonna be
Depends
more
on
down
how
before you
hard
get
we
those
find
things
it.
turned around.
Yeah, Cedar Hill got turnarounds that we didn't, so it's our turn.
I have a question about the logo.
Yes.
I think the logo should represent, not the logo, the monument. I think the monument should reference the city, and it has strata in it. But that in no way looks like the city. The city has creeks, the city has tall trees, the city has mature neighborhoods, the city's, has flowers and crepe myrtles along. And I was just wondering who came up with the strata, and what was their reference for it?
No, that's also a good question. The strata was developed by TxDOT for the overall corridor, and so it relates to the escarpment and the strata with the geological layers. And so
Cedar Hill didn't have a strata look to their monument.
that's correct. That was their decision to not tie directly to the corridor. They've got other monuments that this monument is already built elsewhere in their community. And so they wanted to make it larger and put it there.
Well, if I'm not missing the point, these are just concept designs. The council will ask input on the final design, right?
That's also true, Mayor. These are placeholders at this point, based on previous discussions and based on discussions with TxDOT. They're not tied directly to the grant funding, and so they can run at a different timetable if so desired.
So if y'all are not keen on the strata look, then whatever input you'd like to give Nick for some other concepts, this is why we're having this discussion.
I'm not keen on it. I think it's too
Hello, Duro Canyon.
dark stone. We have limestone, white stone. And we want this dark stuff.
Well, and just for your reference, with the corridor and the MSC walls that will be incorporated, those panels will be printed with similar kind of strata patterns as you come through. And so that's where the connection came.
Remember the look when we first saw what the stamped out areas would look like? That was a strata look on the bridge, on the support.
The form lines, the retaining walls, the form liners that they'll have a strata look on there. They're already putting in some of the retaining walls at Cedar Hill. But the last time I was there, it was just the lower ones, and so I didn't see the upper ones, which have
They're not
more of the
colored.
design on them.
They're not colored.
No, they won't be colored. They'll just have a stamp in it.
The other thing that's somewhat deceiving is that word logo will be replaced by your city logo, which will be effectively 80% of what you see visually. And so think of that as the background, and it will be substantially less significant than what you see in these images. So it's really meant to be the backdrop and showcase whatever your logo ends up being.
You know, with the strata, the Perot Museum is a good example. I bet 90% of the people don't realize that strata if they realize it is a funny looking building. But if it's done right, it can be pretty.
And as Mr. Hugman said, that's why we're here, is to get this feedback. And so it's easy to make that wall a simple wall of a single color or of a different material as well, and still continue with that logo application on top of it.
Yeah, I'd just like to see citizens' input on this. For them to have some buy-in. And we've got some really, I'm not a designer and I'm not talented in it. But I know that we do have people that are.
Yeah, so when we get to the final step, or was the next steps, one of the next step is to go to the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Commission. Will be that's the one in I think 1 June, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So that's when we would get more input. But again, we wanted to make sure we got y'all's input first, so we had some time to tweak it before we went to the next step as well. So that's sort of why we're here today, is really trying to help guide Nick and Dorothy in achieving your vision.
So we're gonna decide that after the logos, if we change the logo or.
I think
Well, I mean, I would defer to Nick on how a particular logo affects the structure that it's mounted on.
It would affect how it looks. I mean,
Yeah, aesthetically. it does
Absolutely.
help a little.
you can't,
If it's round or square.
yes.
Or
Jessica said that we should be coming to council around the 1st of July with a logo concept, so I think that would probably still work with our timing.
Yeah. I think it's still good. So some of the main feedback is whether or not a vertical concept is on the table. If that's off the table, that one goes away. The advantages of a vertical concept is we can get that closer to the lanes of travel, and we can put that in places where the other ones don't fit. If we want to keep that horizontal, and that's the priority, and then that limits how close we can get to the freeway and where we can put those monuments.
So we're looking at the same monument at both ends of town? or
Correct.
everywhere? So we can't mix and match?
We tend not to do that because it's such a strong branding element, and so you want that brand to be consistent.
So it'll be the same on I-20? Can you carry it over I-20?
Yes.
Because Grand Prairie only has that one big one.
And that's the only one they have, I believe.
That's $900,000.
It's getting close.
Yeah, but that was for one.
For one.
That was for one.
I don't know, but it makes sense to me to get the logo before you decide on the.
Yeah.
The reason we have it here is because obviously the landscape's going around it. And so we want to make sure that they fit. And so we just need a footprint, and so we're more than happy to wait on that logo.
And the big ones need to go on 20.
Personally, as a private citizen, I don't like tall monument signs sticking up like that. I think that the other style looks better to me.
My preference is horizontal.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the design, I leave that up to designers. I'm an engineer, so.
That's why I keep telling them too.
That's why we have this thing.
And that's why we tell an engineer that you need to have the logo before you come up with the way it looked, though. Because you don't, that's backwards.
Well, this project actually started before the logo project.
Right.
So we initially began with your old logo.
And that may be what we have.
Well, if we do go with the logo, I envision that you're gonna have 2 or 3 versions of that. It's not gonna be just one logo. You're gonna have the central theme will be the same, but you'll have different versions of it. If you put it on correspondence, it'll be one thing, or it'll have some variation to it. That's one of the reasons you have a new logo, is that you can adapt it to whatever you're using it for.
Or we may keep the old one.
I said if.
Yeah.
I ain't the if it.
And to me, it would just, that would dictate what size you had and.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at least at this time, you're saying that the decision that we need, I guess, from council, regardless of the logo, is the preference for horizontal versus vertical, because as you notice on these are your different gateways, there's only a small little rectangle that shows where they are, and that's really all that's on the 6%. And basically, landscape icon to be determined goes here, but it does have some bearing whether or not it's one narrow or a wide. And so maybe again, if course of action or concept B is not currently identified as the desired end state, but at least conceptually, I guess what I'm hearing is that horizontal is more the preference of the council. And so we sort of advance toward that and give them at least that guidance as he.
So which one's horizontal, the big one?
B or
B
C.
and C are both horizontal.
Well, as opposed to A is more of the vertical.
Well, I know I'm a short timer, but I like
Column.
We'll proceed under that assumption.
B's better than A, but C's better than B.
You like this a little more?
D, because it's got some design to
Well, B and C are both horizontal, so
Yeah.
we tell them horizontal.
Yeah, well, we like horizontal better than we do vertical, but
Okay.
I don't like the
Thank
crane.
you.
Great. Oh, you're welcome.
it. I like it.
Because we live on
Okay, so again, we'll run through the next steps. The main takeaway, as Nick talked about before, is that what we owe TxDOT as part of the application is the landscape design. And so the particulars about concept A, concept B, we'll say concept B, concept C, or a new concept D, are not pertinent to our application. What is pertinent is that we have the design and that we do have identified funding and the intent to put our skin in the game with our hardscape elements. So so the 27th, again, the 60% design goes to TxDOT. I'm just going to hit some highlights here. Again, June 1st was our design presentation to the Keep Duncanville Beautiful Committee. June is also when the grant application will get submitted. September is a big month. That's when we'll have the 90%, but that's also when we anticipate the FY19 allocations. Fall of 19 is when the construction project's complete, but we're also tied to the FY20 Green Ribbon Grant application. And then again, we'll wait for what we're considering our third allocation of funds to complete the landscape elements. We'll start in fall of 2019. One thing that you will see sometime in 2019 is that we'll be coming back to the council for the approval, for their consent regarding the landscape maintenance agreement and the local transportation advance funding agreement. And so what that is the first one, the landscape agreement, basically says we agree to take care of all these wonderful plants that they bought for us into perpetuity. And the second one basically is we have an estimate. They're going to give us X amount of money. So right now we know we have the 486. Say they gave us two pushes of two allocations of $750,000. If the project goes above that, then we would have to cover any change orders. Again, right now we're the nearest target for us right now is the FY19 Green Ribbon application. And with that, subject to your questions.
Seeing none, thank you very much. Thank you. That was the final item on our work session, briefing session. We have no executive session. So it is now 6:43. I will adjourn this session and ask everybody to be in place and ready to go at 7 p.m. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 7 o'clock. We'll call the city council to session. City manager, I don't know why, but reminded me, since this is my last meeting, we're starting on time. Our first order of business tonight will be our invocation, and it will be led by Faith Baptist Church Pastor Jason Hillard. Following that, we will have our pledge of allegiance to the flag. So at this time, will you please stand?
Thank you. Let's pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you acknowledging your greatness and your sovereignty over all things. We're so thankful that you have given us this wonderful city in which to live and these who have dedicated themselves to serving it. We pray tonight that you would continue to move amongst our city, bless us with your favor, grant repentance that all may turn to you and come to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. We also lift up our newly installed or soon to be installed mayor and ask that you would bless his time in office, that you would give him wisdom, that you would give him discernment, that you would make his words strong and his heart gentle and full of grace. We lift up each city council person, those newly elected and those continuing to serve, and ask that you would continue to bless the work of their hands. Father, bless us only insomuch as we are obedient to you, and help us to look to your word for our wisdom and for truth. In Christ's name we ask these things. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Our first order of business tonight will be item number 1, which is to canvass of election and the administer of oaths. And I'm going to ask our city attorney, Mr. Hager, if he will read the election results.
Resolution number 2018-053, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, canvassing and declaring the results of the May 5th, 2018 general election for mayor and council members for District 2 and 4, providing for a runoff election on June 16th, 2018 for council member District 4, and providing an effective date. Whereas it is hereby found and determined that the notices of the general election were duly given in the form and manner and time required by law, and then said elections were in all respects legally held and conducted in accordance with applicable laws of the state of Texas and the proceedings calling and governing the holding of such elections. And whereas it is imperative to consider the returns of the general election held on May 5th, 2018 for the purpose of electing the hereinafter named officials before the qualified voters of the city. And whereas the returns of the general election have been duly and legally made and submitted to the City Council for canvassing, and a tabulation of the return for the polling places and early voting is canvassed and tabulated, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, after examining said returns and opening and canvassing the votes of said election, that the results of the general election are as follows. Section 1. The following number of votes were cast for the following named candidate for the office of mayor at large, to wit: Janet Lemissy Harris, early voting 398, election day 145, total votes 543. Matt Jones, early voting 178, election day votes 80, total votes 258. Barry L. Gordon, early votes 907, election day 353, total 1,260. It appearing that Barry L. Gordon received a majority of votes cast for the office of mayor, Barry L. Gordon is hereby declared to be elected to serve a 2-year term after qualifying. Section 2. The following number of votes were cast for the following named candidates for the office of council member, District 2, to wit: Missy Bain, early voting 143, election day vote 66, total 209. Don McBurnett, early votes 175, election day votes 55, total votes 230. It appearing that Don McBurnett received a majority of votes cast for the office of council District 2, Don McBurnett is hereby declared to be elected to serve a 2-year term after qualifying. Section 3, that the following number of votes were cast for the following named candidate for the office of District 4, to wit: Mark D. Cooks, early voting 189, election day votes 41, total votes 230. Brenda O'Brien, early votes 64, election day votes 23, total votes 87. Jeff Burton, early votes 162, election day votes 62, total of 224. It appearing that no candidate received a majority of votes cast for the office of council member District 4, it is therefore the 2 candidates, Mark D. Cook and Jeff Burton, receiving the most votes shall be subject to a runoff to be held on June 16, 2018, in accordance with the joint election agreement with Dallas County, and the early voting and election date to be held as set forth in that agreement and under Texas law. This resolution declaring the results of the municipal election shall become effective immediately after its passage. It is therefore ordered that this canvass and declaration of results for said election shall be entered into the minutes of the City Council, and that the officers, after being qualified and taking their oath, shall serve during the term commencing on May 15th, 2018, and thereafter until their successors are elected and qualified, duly passed by the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, the 15th day of May 2018, approved by the mayor, attested by the city secretary.
Council, you've heard the canvassing resolution read. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion of acceptance.
I move that we approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second on the floor. At this time, will you please vote? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we will proceed with swearing-in ceremony for the mayor and for the candidate, the winner from place number 2. City Secretary?
Repeat after me, please. Right. I, Dawn McBurnett.
Please take the microphone.
I, Dawn McBurnett.
I, Don McBurnett,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute.
the duties of office
the duties of office
of Council Member District 2
of Council Member District 2
of the City of Duncanville,
State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
protect,
and defend the Constitution
and
and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Councilman McBurnett, once you finish signing that, would you like to say something and maybe introduce your family or the people who worked very hard on your campaign?
I want to just take this opportunity and just basically to say thanks. There's several people here, and I know they're an integral part of it, and I really appreciate your help, and I look forward to serving the city and stuff. I see several, well, there's a whole bunch of people I see. I don't have enough time probably to do that, but Mom, if you would stand up and stuff. That's the matriarch of our family. And next to her is my brother Neil. Okay. Thank you. And those two right there are my little blessings, my twins, Viviana and Paul. So I look forward to serving the city and working with this council. And I want to thank you. And Steve, I want to thank you so much for how you serve the city as well. Thank you.
He comes up, takes his seat. Down to he comes up, takes his seat. Just before we have the swearing in, you need to take your place at council.
City of Duncanville, State of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, laws of the United States, and of the state, so help me God. Well, my whole Sunday school class is here. And I apologize for calling them Sunday school because we're supposed to call them growth groups, but I still haven't gotten that down. I'm sorry. I want to first say that my priorities are in line with God's priorities. God, family, and work. And I want to thank God, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for allowing me to take this position, to bring me to this state and chapter in my life. It is humbling, and I'm extremely honored by this opportunity, and I thank all those who see me as the individual that they would like to have sitting in the seat of mayor for the city of Duncanville. It's an extreme honor and opportunity for me. I want to thank my wife, Marlis, for her support, her encouragement, and being my Nathan. And if you're not familiar with scripture, when David sinned, God sent the prophet Nathan to say, David, you messed up bad, boy. And Nathan went to David and said, you better shape up, David, because God knows what you did. And David repented. My wife of 47, almost 48 years, is my Nathan. She's my helpmate, my soulmate, my life. I knew it. My son could not be here tonight because he's doing his job. He should be moving in sometime, 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, doing our business. We're in business together. It's a tough job, tough work, but he'll be in soon and I'll hug him. But his wife, Kristen, is here for me, and we love them both. Here, I want to thank my pastor of 30 years, Pastor Greg Headley, and his wife, Joy, for all their guidance and wisdom and help. And my new pastor, Pastor Lewis, and his wife, Deanne, for helping me, being with me, and all that we've done. I want to say that the city of Duncanville should be proud of the manner in which this mayoral race was run. It was run with dignity, and it was run with honor. And all the citizens of Duncanville should be proud of that. It's something that we should stand on and base ourselves and say, we do it right in Duncanville. The many, many people that Marlis and I came across as we walked the neighborhoods to meet people, and we walked every single neighborhood in the entire city, what we found was people that love this city. Are they all 100% satisfied? No. But they love the city. And for their love of the city, they're emotional, they're passionate, and they have great ideas. And we took down many, many notes of ideas from meeting all these citizens. And those are some of the things that I'll attempt to work on with the city staff to put in place those things that our citizens feel are important to us. It's those citizens that we serve, and we will never take our eyes off of that. We are a city of champions. That moniker has endeared itself simply mostly to athletes because of our past. But we look at our city as replete with champions in the arts, in education, in business, in industry. We have champions in this city among all of the different disciplines that it takes to operate a village. And what we're going to do in the future, one of my goals is to make this a city of champions, well known, that those champions of the arts, those champions of education, those champions of industry, we need to make them known and recognize them. We need to help businesses. We need to help encourage businesses. There was a very solemn occasion this morning. We did a memorial to our police officers. It's nationwide. It was a solemn occasion, and it was an occasion where we remembered two fallen officers from the city of Duncanville, Sergeant Poe and Officer Hubbard. And what I would like to do I'll take a moment of silence to remember fallen officers and disabled officers that are no longer able to serve. So join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And we bless our law enforcement, every aspect. They put themselves in harm's way to protect us every day. And I think sometimes we take them for granted, which we never should. Anytime you see a law enforcement officer or a first responder, bless them, honor them, show them the respect that they deserve for doing what they do every day to honor us by their service. There are so many of you here that helped me in this election. If I tried to enumerate them all, I would be remiss in seeing some people out. So as I look at you in the face and I look at you in the eyes, for those of you that personally helped me and supported me and walked the streets with me, that's a bad word, but canvassed the city with me, probably a better term. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your encouragement, because without your encouragement, I wouldn't be here. But I know that being here tonight and being able to take the place of a man I deeply respect and deeply honor is a humbling experience, but one I'm excited to look forward to. Thank you for your attendance and your support, and God bless you all. Thank you. go. Mayor Green? The City of Duncanville, Mayor Green wants to honor you with this plaque, and it reads, presented to David L. Green for dedicated service and significant contribution as mayor, 2004, 2012, 2014, 2018, Duncanville, perfect blend of family, community, and business, May 2018. Thank you, Mayor. God bless you.
It's been a great time, and I want to thank everybody for the support they've given me over these years. It was time, and when God provided, when here's a man who was ready to step up and take over, and I've said to several people, in 2 months they're going to say, David who? Barry will do a great job. We've got a great council, and look for great things to happen in this city, and I'm so happy that I'm going to be a resident. I'll be around, I just won't be up here. So thank you all for your support and kindness and love for over these years. Thank you very much.
On your departure from City Council, the city wants to present you with this plaque. Stephen Rutherford, in recognition of service to the City of Duncanville, Councilmember District 2, City of Duncanville City Council, May 20th, 2014, May 15th, 2018. Thank you for your service. God bless you, sir.
Well, I don't have near the resume that the mayor has, but I would like to thank the city for allowing me to serve as the council member for District 2 for the last 4 years. One of the things I've really come to know, well, before I became councilman, I just kind of worked, wasn't that involved. And one of the things I've learned over the last few years is that there are a lot of people in Duncanville that care about this city. There's people that work on boards and commissions. There's people that serve in the service clubs like the Lions Club and the Rotary. And then there's people that serve the city in ways that you and I probably never see. So if there's anybody out there thinking about wanting to help the city, I would encourage anybody that's out there to find something you want to do. It doesn't have to be on the council. It doesn't have to be on a board or commission. But just find something you would enjoy doing to help the city. Because I think we all agree we've got a great city, but we all need to work to try to improve it. So again, I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to thank my fellow councilmen working with y'all for the last few years. Thank you, Kevin, for all that you do and keep us up to date on what's going on. And I'd also like to thank my wife, Janie, back here. Next to her. But again, I'd like to say thank you, and I'm going to be around also. So thanks a lot.
My first official order of business, we're going to recess City Council for a reception or some refreshments in the briefing room around the
Oh, and we're reconvening at 7:53 p.m., please. Well, thank you for your attendance. We'll move on to item number 1 on the agenda, which is the mayor's report. I think I'll not do that. I think I've said enough already this evening. Moving on to item number 1B, council members' reports. Are there any council members' reports? Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor.
On behalf of the staff, we would like to congratulate Mayor Gordon and Councilmember McBurnett on their election. And we look forward to working with you and helping serve and working together with the council and the staff as a team to better Duncanville and improve our community for all of our citizens. We would also like to thank former Mayor David Green and former council member Steve Rutherford for their service to the city. It has been an honor and a pleasure working with them over the last several years of their tenure, and we know that they have each left a mark on the city and a positive thing for the city, and we thank them for their service. And then finally, I would also like to recognize this evening we have a new city secretary, Ms. Narva Walker. I'm going to ask her to stand up. She just began employment last week. She is replacing Mary Jones, who retired at the end of March. And Narva has a master's in business administration and a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. She was previously an assistant city secretary for the city of Lancaster, worked in the private sector for Baylor Hospital in Dallas, and then most recently worked in accounts payable and receivable for the city of Wilmer. She was previously certified as a Texas registered municipal clerk, and so she has a number of years of experience, and we are glad to have her on board, and she will be coming up to speed quickly. And so we just wanted to introduce her to you. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. Moving on to item number 2 on the agenda, we have proclamations and presentations. First proclamation will be by Councilman LeBlanc.
Assistant Chief Chase and Division Chief Mike Ryan are here. Great. Whereas emergency medical services is vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical service team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illnesses or injury, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, first responders, educators, administrators, and others, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services team, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continued education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishment of the emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Service Week. Now, Barry L. Gordon, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, Texas, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 20th through May 26, 2018, with May 24th being Emergency Medical Services for Children's Day, as Emergency Medical Services Week. With the theme, EMS Strong, Always in Service, I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities.
Mayor, Council, we appreciate y'all recognizing us and giving us a proclamation for EMS Week. Here in Duncanville, we strive to maintain one of the best EMS systems in the state of Texas and in the country. We work extremely hard to provide great care, and at any moment's notice you need us, you know, we're there for you. So we appreciate y'all recognizing us. And Mayor Gordon, we appreciate accepting your very first proclamation.
Next proclamation will be by Councilman Schwartz.
This is a proclamation for the Public Works Week, and I see we've got the director and some of his staff up there. I'll let you introduce your staff and read the proclamation. Whereas Public Works infrastructure, facilities, and services are an integral part of the citizens' everyday lives and of vital importance to sustainable communities and the health, safety, and well-being of the people of Duncanville. And whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees from your local public works department who are responsible for and who plan, design, build, operate, and maintain the transportation, water supply, water treatment, public buildings, structures, and facilities, and who deliver solid waste services, transit, fleet services, which are essential to serve our citizens. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff our Public Works Department is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas the men and women of the Public Works Department of the City of Duncanville unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now therefore, Barry Gordon, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, does hereby call upon all citizens of Duncanville and all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 20 through 26, 2018 as National Public Works Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating public works employees of the City of Duncanville, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to our community, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the health, safety, and well-being of all of our citizens. Appreciate it.
Again, I just want to thank everybody. Let me just take this opportunity to introduce two of my staff that are here with me tonight. Right next to me is Jackie Colton, my deputy, and then next to her is Athena Seaton, who is our planning tech. And as well, I just wanted to, again, just be mindful of the rest of the 60 folks in our department who take care of the streets, again, traffic control, the water utilities, code enforcement, building officials, engineering, and then again, planning as well. So again, they're all out here to serve you, and I know we have this week, but again, when you get some water out of your sink, it's Public Works Day, and when you rode to work and you came back, that was Public Works Day, and when you stopped at those traffic lights, that's also Public Works Day. So just be, again, we touch every day, and it's good that we have a particular week, but again, Public Works and the services that we provide and maintain for on your behalf is what we do every day, and we're proud to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will move on to item number 3 on our agenda, which is citizens' input. And at this time, 2-minute comments will be taken from the audience on any topic. Individuals that requested to speak to the council have submitted cards to us. I have those here. Please state your name and your address. And I will also add that since we are in an election time, in accordance with state law, the recording of these comments will not be included. Consent agenda. City Manager. City Secretary will read the consent agenda.
Item 4A, consider the minutes for the May 1st, 2018 City Council regular meeting. Item 4B, consider a resolution authorizing the application for and receipt of a grant from the Texas Division of Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Grant Program through the Federal Emergency Management Agency in cooperation with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, funding the acquisition of one emergency generator for the Summit Water Tank Pump Station with a total grant value of $200,000, of which the federal share awarded will be $150,000, with the City of Duncanville contributing a 25% cash match in the amount of $50,000. Item 4C, consider a resolution authorizing purchase number 18-074 on street mill and overlay contractual services from Peachtree Construction Ltd. for the lump sum prices bid in the amount of $964,600.
Having read the consent agenda by the City Secretary, the Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a second. Please vote. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, items for individual consideration. We'll move to item 5A. Consider a resolution awarding a bid in the amount of $324,435 to WatchGuard Video for the purchase of an integrated audio-video camera system, inclusive of both mobile video systems and body-worn cameras, as well as physical server for library storage of recorded audio-video. Chief Lavigny.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Mark Lavigny, Assistant Chief of Police with the Duncanville Police Department, and I appreciate this opportunity tonight to present to you the Police Department's need for a new integrated camera system that's inclusive of both in-car cameras as well as body-worn cameras. The current system used by the department is an older system. It's no longer warranted and is failing unpredictably. What used to be an expectation that footage would be captured is now a mere hope that footage will be captured. Camera systems in law enforcement have become a best practice. They promote professionalism and transparency in the police department. They protect both police officers in the city from unsubstantiated allegations of wrongdoing, and they provide a platform from which training can be accomplished, both internally and externally. About a year ago, the department was made aware of a possible opportunity to procure an integrated camera system at no cost through a company which had experienced success in the entertainment industry. The company recognized the need for cameras within law enforcement, and they wanted to garner a foothold within that community. We began discussions with the company. Those discussions progressed, and we asked the council at that point in time to allow us to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the company. That permission was granted, and we did. As of January of this year, it became apparent to the department that the company could no longer abide by the MOU. The proposed equipment was questionable at best for a law enforcement application, and the company had become unresponsive to the requests and needs of the department. At that time, the department dissolved the relationship with the company as it was no longer in the best interest of the department or the citizens it serves. Still needing a stable and reliable integrated camera system, the department formed an internal evaluation team. The team identified 2 major camera companies with prominence in the Texas law enforcement community, those being WatchGuard and Axon. We asked both companies to present on their systems, and they did. Team members contacted colleagues of departments who used one or the other company's system to determine product reliability, ease of use for the end user, redaction capabilities, and overall customer service experience. One of the departments we contacted was the McKinney Police Department. That department invited our team members to come to their department and see how they use the WatchGuard system. We were given unfettered access and saw the system in use from a patrol officer's perspective, from a case management perspective within criminal investigations, and from an IT technology perspective, and just an overall perspective of the system administration. The team members were quite impressed with the WatchGuard system. WatchGuard is headquartered in Allen, Texas. They have geographic proximity to Duncanville, which allowed a site visit to their headquarters by team members. The team members were impressed with the facility, with the employees they encountered, and by the fact that many components of the WatchGuard system are manufactured here in North Texas. I'm stuck here on this slide. There it is. WatchGuard has been an industry leader in providing camera solutions to law enforcement for several years. The company, again, is based in Allen, Texas, and has been since 2002. Friday, they will open the first phase of a new $40+ million headquarters still in Allen, Texas. The average annual cost for the WatchGuard solution is just over $55,000, which is nearly $5,000 less than the other evaluated system. Because WatchGuard is an industry leader, because of their commitment to North Texas, because of their commitment to law enforcement in general, because of the geographic proximity of the WatchGuard headquarters to Duncanville, and because they were responsive during our negotiations, the department not only believes that it will receive a good product, an excellent product, but we will also receive outstanding customer service. Examples of other Texas law enforcement agencies with which WatchGuard has partnered includes the listed police departments, many of which are North Texas departments, as well as the Texas Department of Public Safety. The total cost for the WatchGuard solution over a 6-year contract is just over $324,000. WatchGuard is offered to allow the city to make deferred payments as listed. Currently, funding is available in the Red Light Camera Fund. And at this time, I would like to open the discussion to questions, but prior to doing so, I'd like to introduce a couple of WatchGuard representatives, Izzy Valdivino and Gavin Wallace. Would you guys like to say anything? Are there any questions?
One question from a financial perspective. I noticed that the method of payments is not equal from over the 6 years. Could you explain how the company decided how to amortize that or divide that over the 6 years? And second question, it is interest-free over those 6 years.
I can take a stab at it first, I think.
Okay.
It is interest-free. There are no financing charges involved. As far as the schedule for the deferment, back up to that. So in year one, we're obviously procuring quite a bit of equipment. There's some training involved, and that's your biggest expense over the life of the contract. Year three, both companies factored into their proposals body-worn camera refresher. So just as your cell phones over time, they begin to degrade, the batteries begin to degrade, the body-worn cameras, because they're a standalone component, do so as well. So in year three, we're going to get new body-worn cameras so it can last throughout the year 6 of the contract. Do you have anything to add to that?
And I noticed also the warranty is for 6 years for the term of the contract. So what In terms of some equipment breaking down during that term, what kind of warranty replacement is there?
The equipment, all of the equipment but the physical server, as well as the DVD burner, is warranted during the entire 6 years. Because those two components are through a third-party manufacturer, they would only warranty the 5 years. So on those two components, they're warranted for 5 years.
WatchGuard representatives, anything to say?
No, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, on behalf of our company, we appreciate the opportunity to be invited here, Chief Brown, Chief Livigny, and it's always, we know it's a big honor to be able to serve law enforcement, but it's always extra sweet when it's our neighbor, so we appreciate the opportunity.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
We approve this tonight. When will you get your equipment?
You know, I was talking to Izzy just during the intermission for the reception, and we had talked before about this, but once we sign the contract, assuming that it's approved, it will take 6 to 8 weeks to start to get the equipment in. Now, we are expecting to order new vehicles pretty quickly for this fiscal year, so we'll probably defer to put the in-car cameras in those vehicles until we get them. So those are 6 vehicles we would be looking to do those in, but immediately we would outfit 8 vehicles and get the body-worn cameras in 6 to 8 weeks.
Councilmember Jameson.
I noticed something about the batteries and how long they're warranted for. Isn't that a major problem with batteries? No?
I'm
So
not totally
they're-
sure what you're talking about. Izzy, do you know?
Oh, the batteries will be the batteries will be covered under the warranty.
Okay, so they're just replaced?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the second thing was, I noticed you have a pretty impressive group that use your services. Did we acquire our talks through the bid board?
Well, we didn't speak through the bid board, but the company is on the Houston-Galveston buy board. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is there a reason why we didn't go through the regular bidding process?
Well, again, the Houston Galveston Area Council of Governments does bid those products out. So both of these companies were under that same contract or under that same buy board cooperative purchasing agreement.
So we're going under someone else's contract, the rates they got?
We're going through the Houston-Galveston buy board. Yes,
Houston,
ma'am.
Galveston? Okay. And was that a better rate than the Texas?
The best I can tell you is during the WatchGuard's first offer, they were certainly open to negotiations. They came off nearly a third of the initial proposal in us speaking with them. As far as, I hope I'm being responsive to your question, but that's about the best I can give you at this point. Can you add anything?
Well, I just noticed that looking at the other entities, they're pretty large. And because we're a smaller city, we want to make sure that we can get the best deal possible, obviously. So we are getting Houston's rate.
Ma'am, I am not familiar with the rate that Houston, what their contract specified. I can say that we were very open to trying to be as aggressive as possible, and that the pricing that is offered at Duncanville is below the HGAC contract pricing as well. So that contract allows for some flexibility, and we were able to offer a better solution, better pricing than the HGAC contract.
Okay. We just are compared to, I don't know, could you put those back up there, the other entities? I was looking at them. They're all very large.
They are, but and that is true. Those are some very large agencies there, but we're blessed with the opportunity to serve many departments, from very small agencies to very large ones. So I hope I'm addressing the question correctly, but I think it's fair to say that the pricing that we offered Duncanville is very competitive when you look at not only HGAC, but also DIR, my board, and other contracts that are available.
Okay.
I believe this is classified as a high-tech purchase, so it gives us the authority to negotiate the best price we can get. We don't have to bid it, and
Well, I know we don't have to bid it. What I want to know is.
Could you turn your mic on, please? Thank you.
I realize we don't have to bid it. I want to make sure that we are getting as good a rate as a larger entity, because we are a lot smaller. 11.2 square miles, 38,000, and those are huge. So, I don't have a problem with getting Houston's rate, but I just want to make sure we are. That's all.
Following on, did you have something else? Following on to Councilmember Jameson's question, I think the intent is to understand, despite our size, if we were to go unit by unit, dollar for dollar, that we are getting the very best price that you can possibly offer using those other cities
I can give you
terms
one
of volume
example.
pricing.
I talked about the refresher in year 3 for the body-worn cameras. When they made their counter proposal after their first one, they came down significantly from that initial proposal. But one example I'll give you is in that year 3 refresher, I guess they figured in inflation, and I talked them into giving us in year 3 the same price that we get in year 1 for the body-worn cameras. So they were very responsive to the negotiations. Again, I'm not privy to what other agencies or what kind of proposals they're given, but I think they've been very responsive.
So in year 3, those prices are not incremental for inflation.
They're the same price.
They're staying at steady rate as of today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further questions? Any other discussion? Seeing none, Chair will accept a motion to approve.
move approval.
Is there a motion to second?
Second.
We have a motion to second. No further discussion. Please vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, staff and board reports. Item number 6A is receive the library quarterly report and work plan update.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'm Julio Velasquez, Library Director. It's my pleasure to be here to give you the library quarterly report. Springtime's a very busy and exciting time at the library, so we had a spate of spring programs that have images here. For spring break, we had movie night, magic show, Lego programs, Kiva Plank, and the U Petting Zoo. The U Petting Zoo proved to be a very popular program. We had nearly 500 attendees for that program. It was the first year we'd done that program, so that was a very popular program for us this first year. We also recently had the opportunity to get the library repainted, fresh colors, and to get some new public area furniture. So we got some of our children's furniture in already. This is a refresher. We hadn't had any furniture for several years. We also had a generous donation from the Friends of the Duncanville Public Library, who we appreciate, help us purchase metal pegboards that we hung on the wall, in which we're calling our Discovery Zone. We're able to put different items on there to replicate things you'd find in children's science museums. So those are things we're very excited to have. The Friends also helped us honor our volunteers. We have several volunteers that help us on an annual basis with a lot of our programming. So we were able to do our first library volunteer party earlier this last month, and that was very well received by our volunteers, and we're very grateful for all their help that they give us throughout the year. Also recently we had a group of 6th graders come in and do a large scavenger hunt in the library. They were learning about the library, how to do research. So we hosted them last week at the library, and that was very popular as well. Some of our work plan items that we have accomplished, we replaced our print management software and our credit processing software in the library. So now we're able to offer Wi-Fi printing as well as accept credit card payments at the library desk. As I noted, we were able to replace furniture in the library. We've received the children's furniture. We've just started to receive some of the public side adult furniture. Hopefully we can update pictures of that soon. We've also, in the process, we've taken RFPs to replace our ILS system, which is a library, integrated library system, the system that allows us to catalog materials, check out materials, have our catalog. We received 10 proposals. We're currently vetting the top 3 and hoping to have a choice by that soon later this summer. Some of our some measures that we've achieved this year so far in FY18, we've had 89,000, nearly 90,000 visitors to the library. We've circulated around 62,000 items. In our library alone, we've loaned out 100 items, received 25. Excuse me. We've also welcomed about 900 new library card holders, and we processed 3,259 new individual material items. The programs we've offered so far this year, we had 200 programs, and as our attendance is wonderful with 4,239 individuals attending our various programs. For computer usage, we had 22,477 unique logins using our computer systems in the library, which ended up being about 13,740 hours of service that we'd offered that. At the reference desk, helping our various visitors and patrons, we've had about 2,575 interactions with those patrons. And as I mentioned before, with our wonderful volunteers, they've given us so far 1,182 hours of volunteer service in this year so far. And that's all I have for you. If there's any questions.
Councilmember Thomas.
I want to congratulate you. I'll get it out. Congratulate you for being a TV star.
Oh,
You're bringing
thank
much
you.
attention to, good attention to Duncanville, and and this is a funny story. When he first came on board, I just came back from a TML convention, and I had all this library stuff, and I say, here, this will help you. This is good. And he's just like very kind, very patient. And then finally he said, and then he started telling me the things that he's done. And we have a fantastic library director. He does the presentations at the Library Association and your big state thing.
Yeah, we have the Texas Library Association
Yeah.
recently. I was speaking
Yeah.
at, yes.
And to have such a treasure like you in Duncanville, hope you like our city and stay a very long time.
Well, thank you very much, Councilman. I very much am enjoying my stay here, and I plan to be here for quite a while, so thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Velasquez.
Yes, sir.
With the implementation of Wi-Fi, with everything we see and hear in the news and identity theft, with hacking and security, it may be out of your bailiwick, but what kind of security have we put in place in order to prevent hacking
Well,
and
we work
skimming and phishing of everything else that's going on in the internet today?
Well, we do work very closely with our city IT department, and they are the ones obviously in charge of filtering and ensuring that our Wi-Fi environment is a safe environment for our patrons to use. So we always consult with them, work with them directly in any technology-related endeavor that the library goes into. We work hand in hand with them to ensure we're following all the proper protocols, ensuring the safety. The products that we are acquiring for the library meet all the standards necessary to ensure that safety, city rules and regulations as well as that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? If not, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Moving on to item number 6B, receive the monthly financial report as of March 31st, 2018. Mr. Richard Summerlin, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This report is of March 31st, and we always benchmark where we're at. We're at the halfway mark, so we expect our budgeted revenues and expenditures versus actual to be at about half of the budget. Our general fund ending fund balance was $15.2 million. That was 183 days of operations, and about 100 days or $8.9 million in excess of our benchmark 75-day reserve. I speak oftentimes, and the next bullet point illustrates that as a city, we receive most of our revenue up front in terms of collecting property taxes. Those typically come in during the months of December and January. And so you'll see that fund balance increase dramatically during that time frame. And the remainder of the year, we don't receive too much more revenue except in the way of sales tax. And so we're spending that paycheck, if you will, or that revenue receipt, we're spending that down as we go. And the charts that I'll show you in a minute will illustrate that. So the second bullet, our property tax payments are at 98% of the budget, so we've almost collected our highest revenue source already. Our sales tax is running about 5% higher than it was this same time last year, so we're in good shape there. So on the general fund revenues, what we do here is the blue line charts out what our actuals were for the previous 3 years in terms of averaging them together. And that gives you a historic trend line to go by. And then the purple line is our budget, assuming that we receive those revenues equally each month during the year. And so then the red line represents our actual receipt of revenues. And as you can see on the red line, you see that start to go up in November as those property tax payments come in, and then December and January starting to peak out a little bit, and then tapering off in February and March. And so that is typical, falls right along what the average, 3-year average. So then if we laser out our property tax revenues, again, it's just sort of a mirror image of those overall revenues, except that it's a little bit more pronounced on this graph as we see those receipts come in December, January, February. We look at our general fund expenditures. Typically, as you can see by the blue line, we're usually running a little bit low based on the current year budget for the 3-year average. Started out this year with a little above that line, and then we've dipped down to the line in January and February, and in March we're a little bit below that line. So I'm more comfortable when we're hugging the line or below the line. I don't like being above the line on expenditures, and we will manage that as we go through the budget process to hopefully keep it at or below that line. If we look at our utility fund summary, the ending unreserved fund balance is $6.4 million. That's 125 days of operations. And that fund balance is in excess of our 60-day reserve by $3.3 million. Keep in mind that $1.5 million approximately of that we have reserved for our AMI project, and that was due to a refund that we received that related to Joe Pool Lake. And we anticipate sometime in 2019 looking at doing automated meter infrastructure and changing our software so that we're able to provide data to the citizens that is real-time data on their water usage, et cetera. And so that project or that money is reserved and part of that $3.3 million balance. Excuse me. And of course, our utility solid waste revenues are 1 month in arrears, so they're always a month behind. So there's only 5 months instead of 6 months that are reflected. And then our water wastewater revenues are about 7% higher than they were the same time last year. Same concept as on the general fund with the different colored lines. And as you can see, I've charted out those revenues, and though they're a little bit below where we budgeted, they've stayed very congruent with that budget line. Typically in the warmer months when we see people start to irrigate their lawns and their gardens, you will see that water usage and those revenues creep up a little bit higher. We look at our utility fund expenditures, and again, you can see that they're staying well below the line. As year-to-date of March, they're creeping up a little bit closer to that line for the budget. And then we get to our innovation fund projects. Those things that are highlighted in yellow there essentially have been completed. And one of the one of the big projects there is our ERP project, and that's something that we've been working very diligently to look at the new software. We're in the process right now of understanding more deeply exactly how to set all the bells and whistles up in that new system. And I think all of our team would agree that the more we get into this project and the more that we understand this new software, the more that we realize how inadequate our present financial system is. And I can give you one prime example. Most of you may know the concept of three-way match. That's one of the principles that we use in internal control. Three-way match simply means that you issue a PO, you make sure that that matches to an invoice, and then you create a receiver or someone who's responsible for having received that service. And you make sure that those three things match up. Well, in our current system, there's no way to really do that electronically. And so Richard becomes the three-way match. You know, I'll make sure that I review everything. And of course, I'm human. I can't catch every single thing that might not match up. But in the new system, that becomes automatic, and you cannot push a payment through that you don't have that three-way match. So that's done electronically for you. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to take a little bit away from what I have to do on a day-to-day basis. That's just one small example. And with that, I'll entertain questions.
Mr. Summerlin, one question. You can bulk it up into two. The excess fund balances, just so that I understand for clarification, those monies that are in excess of the 16 to 75 day thresholds that we have, those monies are not going to sit idle for long. There's intended purposes for those excesses, true?
That is correct. My staff provides me with a daily cash position report. Essentially, I know exactly how much money we have in the bank. So I'm looking at that versus what our known needs are for cash outflows. And on a daily basis, I can move money in and out of pools, which are investment pools. They right now are paying very competitive rates to the money markets. I believe the last time I looked, we were at about 1.8% on the major pool that we use. I also get what we call internal service credits for the amount of money that I leave in the bank. And when I say internal service credits, it's in lieu of earning interest. It's not an interest-bearing account. The bank, of course, charges us fees for all the services that they provide. And when I keep a balance there, I essentially earn credits that are based on, if you made the equivalent to interest, it would be about 0.8% of interest. So it's not the best investment vehicle I have available, but I'm also earning a return on that money as it sits in the bank. And so that's something that not a day goes by that I, or even if I'm on vacation, the Assistant Director, Tia Pettis, would look at that balance, and we can move money in or out of that banking account according to what our needs are, and to make sure that we keep it invested. And of course, I also look at long-term money, and I have that money invested either in CDs that have liquidity ranges from 1 year up to 2 years, and then I also have money market accounts that are very competitive with those CD rates that I have restrictions that I can only do 6 withdrawals per year, but you know, I could take any amount of money that I want, and I could take it all out in one withdrawal if I wanted to. So it's very liquid.
Okay. Councilmember Thomas, I have your light on, or okay, just checking. I have another. Anybody have anything? I have another question. With the increased property valuation that we have all experienced this year, how are we as a council and a citizenry going to accommodate what's happened to us with our increased property taxes. That's something we're going to have to take into account when we do the budget process for the next fiscal year, or just educate us like a, you know, in a three-minute elevator speech or something.
Obviously, these will be topics of discussion. Mr. Hugman, after the runoff election, will be scheduling a June workshop, which will be an overview of our budget, more at a higher level, and then we'll come back in early August, and we'll have, after we've finalized the budget and we know what our final property tax valuations are. And so those will be discussions that we'll have with the council regarding where we're at in terms of revenue.
Okay, all right. Any additional questions? Seeing no additional questions, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And next item on the agenda is adjournment. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. We don't have to do that. We are adjourned, thank you. Oh, 8:44. 8:44.